But I wanted to just kind of get your take on, when you look at the lineup and you look at how many fights, there are a bunch of fights out. I mean, about 14 fights, 14 major fights
Mm-hmm.
at every class, going forward. We just saw recently the other weekend, some upsets on Top Rank. But when you look at what's in the lineup, what are you looking for? What are you excited about that's on the schedule?
Man, it's a couple that I'm really excited for. The main one being the trilogy, Wilder Fury 3, that hopefully we'll get somewhere around July. I think that's pretty much a done deal. I think the date may fluctuate a little bit, but that's going to happen. So
An $81 million buyout just was a bit too much for Tyson.
That's a little. Yeah, I may as well just fight you for that kind of money, So that whole scenario is atypical of boxing. Just the politics. There was so much in that deal that we don't know.
Right.
There was so much going on behind. So many smoke and mirrors were being shot out in that deal that that's boxing, man. So
of the big fights, and there are, let's name a few. You got Teofimo slated to fight later this year. I think probably, arguably, one of the top three most exciting fighters to watch right now on the rise, Teofimo Lopez. And
I would agree.
You've got Errol Spence slated to fight Pacquiao. I think that's around August.
Yeah.
That's slated to happen as long as they can work out a few of the kinks and details. You've got rumblings about Crawford in the win. And then, of course, you've got Tyson Fury. Of these fights that are, and Deontay, I don't want to slight Deontay because I don't need him screaming on me. Respect the brother for sure.
To this day. You also got Tank Davis in June as well.
Well, and you got Shakur Stevenson.
Yep.
So you got these fighters, and Tank and Shakur, I think, are a couple of more interesting young fighters. I put them in that Teofimo category where you've got these young fighters coming up, still on the ascent. And that's not to say that Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence aren't on their ascent. They're kind of arrived at that plateau where, they're still going to give you some great fights at the top of their game, but they're at the top of their game. I think we still have more to learn about Tank. I think we still have more to learn about Shakur. I think those are fine. I think Teofimo. I think these are guys who are going to bring more to their game, given they get into some deeper, thicker competition, some bigger fights. I think we can see some more. So when you think about the field, who are you most interested to see? I mean, you said the trilogy, but I think we kind of all have at least an understanding of what we're going to see. We're going to see violence in the trilogy. We should, right? I mean, that's got to end in a knockout, right?
A supersized order of violence will be in that. Man, when I think about what's out there right now, Shakur has always been one of my favorite young guys coming up. I like him a lot. And I tend to think he's the next one, man. I tend to think he's out of that crowd that's coming up, him, Teofimo, Tank, and they're all Devin Haney. They're all kind of
Devin Haney, yeah.
And he's fighting. He got a fight coming up too. They're all kind of around the same weight class, but they do this little thing where somebody will go up to 140 and come back down to 135 and drop down to 130, or they'll do that little thing. I tend to think Shakur is I think he's the one. He's my pick to come up when the smoke clears.
So do you think we're in one of those seasons? I mean, maybe it's a runway toward a season where we start seeing something that we haven't seen. I don't think we've seen this since maybe De La Hoya, Sugar Shane, where you had all these guys that were good, name strong, and they ended up having to fight each other. So you were kind of getting a run of really good fights.
You had Vernon Forrest, Jermaine Taylor, all those guys, yeah.
So do you think we're in a window where 2022, 2023, we might see Tank Davis and a Shakur fight? We might see a Teofimo and a Tank. Is it possible? Or do you think they'll keep staggering to keep making their money and kind of rating. Will we get a unified belt?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, the thing about it is, it's one thing for the window to be there. It's another thing for somebody to jump through it, right? So,
what would it do to the fight game if somebody went through it, though? What do you think?
Well, and when I say jump through it, I mean you can have all these guys on the same level, but if they won't fight each other, I mean, look at the welterweight division. You've got all kind of talent packed into the welterweight division, and we can't seem to get the fights we really want. I mean, we're getting Spence and Pacquiao, but I mean, there's a lot.
I don't really want to see that fight. I don't really care about that fight.
No. There's so many great fights to be made, right? I mean, there could be a tournament in the welterweight division, and that'll take all the guesswork out of it, and they would all be great fights, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely at a place where that could happen. The thing is, will it? You know.
So let me throw this at you. If you got, this free game. If somebody put together a package, a pay-per-view package. Now I know you wouldn't pay for it, but let's assume there's a pay-per-view package out there that people actually pay for.
Right.
And it was $3.99, but you're going to get a series of fights at $3.99, marching towards this championship. So you get the tournament, and maybe the tournament is, every month you're getting 2 of the fights leading up to a championship fight, over a 3 or 4 month period. Could you see something like that selling?
So you're getting 2 fights a month?
Get 2 fights a month
for 3 months
of the fighters that are in this, and maybe in that welterweight group, it's every man for himself to unify the belts.
Right. So you're guaranteed to get a unified bout.
Right.
And an undisputed champion at the end.
Exactly.
All for $3.99?
All for $3.99.
I think that's definitely what's up. Because check this out, right? So if you're a boxing fan, you want to see all the fights, right? You got June. You got a pay-per-view. You got Tank Davis and Barrios.
Right.
It's going to probably be $100, right? Or whatever. July, you got Wilder Fury. It's another 100. August, you got Spence and Pacquiao. That's another 100. That's 300. Haven't even mentioned
Canelo.
We haven't mentioned Canelo, and we haven't mentioned Floyd. Floyd, even though it's an exhibition.
I don't care about that fight.
I don't either, but it's an exhibition.
I can't even believe it. I mean, come on, man.
People are going to buy it, though, bro. There's fans some people are going to buy it to try to see Floyd they want to see Floyd get knocked out. Floyd fans are going to buy it because they want to see him fight again. See, as well as I do.
So this is where I get a little bit Stephen A. Smithish. Mm-hmm. It's those fans that ruin the game.
How
they
so?
ruin the game because, man, I mean, you're paying for garbage.
I agree. Now, the other thing to that is, I think on the undercard, I think he does have some halfway decent fights on the undercard.
Floyd's a great promoter. He's definitely going to have some good fights on there. And who knows? I mean, Floyd's going to entertain. I mean, I have no doubt. When I say garbage, I'm not saying they're garbage. I don't want this to become a Kwame Brown situation where I misspeak, right? And now people coming at you. Right. What I'm saying is, when I say garbage, I mean, when you think about boxing and the integrity of the game from a fan perspective, you want to see, evenly paired talent. So I'm not mad at Floyd for making the fight. I'm just saying I don't see paying $100 to watch Floyd fight a dude who's not in my opinion, not a boxer of his caliber.
I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you. My point is, if you're a fight fan, and there's a lot of them that are going to buy this fight.
There are. I know.
That's just a fact. So when I look at it, the point I'm making is there's 2 fights in June. There's a fight in July, a fight in August. Canelo's probably going to be back around maybe September, sometime in the fall. You got to almost get a second job just to pay for all these pay-per-view fights. Right. So if you tell me, to your point, I got, here's $3.99 and boom, we got you, baby.